I just finished beating the retro platformer Super Perils of Baking, and even though I'm horrible at it, I had a lot of fun. Let's talk about it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Crossplay. I'm Pastor Mark, and today I want to talk to you about Super Perils of Baking. This is a retro platformer that wears its inspiration right on its sleeves. As you start up the game and enter into the first level, if you've played retro platformers before on the Super Nintendo, you'll probably think back to games like Super Mario World as you enter into this game. And that's exactly what the developers want you to feel. I mean, I felt like I was stepping right back into my childhood where you had to flick on the console, flick it back off, take the cartridge, blow in the cartridge, put the cartridge under your shirt, blow in it then, put it back in the console, flick the console on, reset it, and then the game would start. Now, this game runs a lot smoother than that, so you won't have any issues starting it up, but it has that old console feel to it. It comes with a lot of old school pixel art graphics and that old school gameplay, and it's a lot of fun. For those that may not know, this is actually a full-on remake of an older game called Perils of Baking, so you can see the name Super Perils of Baking invoking kind of that Super Nintendo, Super Mario World feel. Now, I never played through the original game, but I'm a big fan of this developer. I've enjoyed their previous games, so I thought I'd give this game a go. So let's talk about some of the things that I did enjoy and some of the things I did not enjoy about this game. First, like I said, this game has some great pixel art in it. The backgrounds and the levels, the character design, the enemy design, all of it looks really, really good. There's just something about great pixel art that always speaks to me. I mean, I grew up playing Mario RPG, Super Mario World, Final Fantasy VI, and to me, those games are like the pinnacle of pixel art. And this game and its art style just bring me right back to those games, and I love it. But I will say there's one negative aspect that I came across in the pixel art, and that has to do with the speed of some of the levels. So I'm playing this on my PlayStation 5 on a 27-inch monitor that I'm probably sitting maybe 2 to 3 feet away from when I'm playing. And on some of the faster levels, like the minecart levels, it goes by really, really fast, and it's really hard to keep track of what's happening on the screen. Because everything is in these sharp pixels and it's flying by the screen really quickly, I just ended up focusing on one part of the screen so that I could actually see what was happening a few feet in front of my character and hopefully jump in time to avoid danger. Now, I assume this would not be a problem on a smaller screen, so if you're playing handheld on a Switch or further away from your TV, I imagine you wouldn't have this issue because pixel art tends to not have that issue when it's smaller scale, but on a fairly big screen only 3 feet away from me, it was really hard to see what was going on some levels. Next, let's talk about the gameplay. As I said earlier, this is a platformer in the same vein as something like Super Mario World, and that's what the developers talked about, that this was inspired a lot by Super Mario World. But as I was playing through the game, there's a lot of Donkey Kong Country in this game too. Like I previously mentioned, there's the minecart levels, which take me right back to Donkey Kong Country, except these minecart levels are actually doable and aren't going to make you pull your hair out after you try to beat the minecart level in Donkey Kong Country like 95 times. But then you also have the underwater levels, and you're collecting letters through each of the levels, so there's a lot of Donkey Kong Country inspiration, which I like. And the game, in terms of the platforming, controls really well, and there's a really good progression of difficulty through each of the levels, so it starts off really simple, only a few enemies, really simple platforming and jumping, and then as you work through and advance through the levels, you gradually get more enemies, more enemy complexity, more complex platforming sections, and so there's a pretty steady progression throughout the game, except for one of the last levels that had me pulling my hair out. I don't know what it is, there was something about this level that just did not click with me. There were these disappearing platforms that had only been introduced in a previous level very briefly, and so I just hadn't spent a lot of time with them, and I struggled through this level. Now I can play through it, and I can mostly get through it fine, but man, something about playing through this the first time broke my brain. But also, that's probably more to do with me just being bad at platforming games. I enjoy playing these games, but I'm just bad at them. That's part of the retro feeling for me, is it brings me back to those moments where I would play games like this for like 20 seconds, and then I would hand the controller over to my brothers and let them beat the level for me, because I'm just not good at these games. So I recognize that I'm just bad at these games, but even in the midst of me not being great at this game, I had a ton of fun. I had fun going back through the levels after I beat the game and looking for secrets, trying to collect letters, trying to beat time, trying to get a flawless run through. And I think that really gets to a core gameplay element that a lot of these lower budget games really miss. Is the game fun? There are so many games in this indie tier level of development that just kind of get crapped out, and they're cheap and they're just not fun. And here's a game that sits at $10, which for the amount of content that you're getting and the amount of fun that I hope you have with it, I think that's a steal. I beat the story mode in about 3 to 4 hours, and then I spent another few hours going back through, trying to find secrets, trying to beat my time and things like that. But there's a new game plus mode, there's characters that you can unlock, and something that I think is really cool that I will definitely not be doing is that the game actually has different trophy lists if you play on PlayStation. Now, I don't know how this works on other platforms like Xbox, but on PlayStation, there's a PlayStation 4 version and a PlayStation 5 version, and each version actually has totally different trophy lists. So I played on the PlayStation 4 version, which there's no difference between PS4 and PS5 in terms of the gameplay or the graphics or anything like that. It's just the trophy lists. So I played on PS4, which is kind of the standard trophy list, and after beating the game, I was about 30% way through the trophies, and then after a few hours, I was at about 50%. So I would imagine after another 5 to 10 hours, you could get the platinum. But the PlayStation 5 version is built to be a very difficult trophy list. So I'm not going to be doing that, but if you're a glutton for punishment, you can go through both of those versions and hopefully have fun while you're doing it. And in terms of the actual content of the game, I was actually really pleased with what I was seeing. You know, we always have to have this consideration as a Christian of what kind of content am I playing, in this game I think is great. I don't think there's really any content you have to be concerned about here. There's really no gore, there's no cursing, there's no inappropriate joking or anything like that. It's just good, clean fun. And the whole game is written in verse, and so the dialogue has this nice kind of rhythm and rhyme to it. And I think that would be fun if you're playing through the game as a parent with your kid or something like that. So all that to say, I think this is a great game. And I can see this as a game that I would just keep on my PlayStation and maybe just go back to. If I only have 10 or 15 minutes to play, I could hop back into a level and try and beat my time. Yeah, there's a few issues that I have with it, but most of that is probably just due to me not being good at platforming games and not really an issue with the game. And at $10, why wouldn't you pick this up? I mean, I've spent $70 on games that are way less fun in the last few months. I'm looking at you, Ghostwire Tokyo. But hey, I want to know your thoughts. Have you played Super Perils of Baking? And if so, what did you think? And if you haven't picked it up yet, do you think you'd pick it up and try it out? Let me know your thoughts. And as always, I want to let you know that I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you as I make this video, and if you have a specific prayer request, you can message me on Twitter, or you can leave a comment on this video, and I will pray for you specifically. So thanks for tuning into this video. Remember that God loves you. I'm praying for you, and I'll see you in the next video.